Jai Gurudev, Jai Masters. There's certain foundational understanding that you have to have for true spiritual growth. If all you want is to have a nice life, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with anything. You're sitting on a little planet, spinning a little nowheres. It's been here for 4.5 billion years. You'll be here for a few. Do what you want. Okay? Yeah, that's what most people are going to do anyways. But having a nice life is not the same as a spiritual life. Why? Because of this thing called mind. And very few people understand mind. In fact, they try to use mind to understand mind. They don't understand that mind is just a tiny little thing. It's like putting a helmet over your head. A fishbowl, I used to say. Put a fishbowl over your head with little fishies swimming around. That's your mind. Those are your thoughts. That's the human, the personal mind. Mind is bigger than that, but not people's minds. I'll explain that to you. If you put that fishbowl over your head, you're going to see those fish. They're going to distract you. And they will distract you more than the whole rest of the environment that is outside that fishbowl. Because they're swimming right in front of your face. Everyone that goes by, you can't see past that. I mean, you can see past it. You can take off the fishbowl. But you don't know that. No matter who you think you are, I'm telling you, you don't know that. The fishbowl can come off. And that's what enlightenment is. If you use the word lightly, you shouldn't use the word lightly. An enlightened being, and there haven't been so many, an enlightened being has no fishbowl. So let's start that way. What's it like to have no fishbowl? So instead of being limited in your consciousness to the fish and the bowl and the water in it, your consciousness is not limited at all. If I stare at my hand so thoroughly that that's all I'm interested in, period, you guys are not here anymore. I don't want to have a philosophical discussion. Are you really there or not? Does everybody see the same thing that's not there? If it's not there? It's meaningless, all right? What's meaningful is you're not there, okay? You got this fishbowl over your head. And you can talk all you want about what you think is outside the fishbowl, but it's fishy. What you're going to come up with is fishy. Because it's all going to be based on your frame of reference. Every single thing you see and think and everything is based on your frame of reference. And your frame of reference is inside that fishbowl. So that if you want to think about what's it like outside the fishbowl, oh, there's beautiful fish, angel fish. They're so gorgeous. People have seen them. They talked about them. Give me a break. You're still inside the fishbowl, and your frame of reference is full of fish. Okay? If you take off that fishbowl, I want you to imagine, what if that fishbowl is taken off? What's out there? Everything else. That's all I want to say. I don't define what's out there. Everything else is out there other than what you were seeing inside your fishbowl. So how small is your fishbowl? That's how small your world is. Listen to me. I don't care how smart you are. It has nothing to do with that. I don't care what you've experienced inside the fishbowl. It has nothing to do with that. Your consciousness is limited to what you have experienced. Is it really limited? Take out the fishbowl. You'll find out it expands out to infinity. It's not limited one single iota. But if you have the fishbowl on, the consciousness is distracted by the fish, distracted by the bowl. It doesn't even know there's anything out there. It can talk about it, write poetry, sing songs, all right? But it doesn't know anything. Do you understand that? It believes. What do you believe is outside your fishbowl? First, you have to be religious enough or conscious enough to say, gosh, I guess I'm inside a fishbowl. All right, good. That's a nice step. Now, what do you believe is outside the fishbowl? Guess what? I couldn't care less what you believe is outside the fishbowl because you don't know. That's why you call it a belief. You don't say, I believe if you know something. I know it. I believe her name is Sally. No, her name is Sally. I know it. I know her. Do you understand how meaningless it is for you to make up beliefs of what's outside the fishbowl? And most people don't even know they're inside of a fishbowl. So there's no question to believe. What I believe is I want this fish not to come around here anymore because I don't like it. I believe that this fish shows up. I don't know why it's showing up, but if it shows up, I like that. That's what I believe. You listen to me. If you're caught, distracted and living inside this fishbowl, you don't know anything about outside that fishbowl. You have no right to have a belief. Just making it up. No, someone told me. Fine, they made it up. Beliefs are very different than reality. They're part of the fishbowl. They're a fish that's swimming by. Oh, there's the one I believe in. Again, the fishbowl can come off. But I want you to feel, what would it be like to take that fishbowl off? Holy mackerel. All of a sudden, you're not limited to this tiny little thing. Well, what do you mean you're not limited? Your consciousness is not limited, distracted by, focused on, fixated on, call it whatever you want, addicted to what's inside your fishbowl. Well, when you take it off, the consciousness, a light that's shining on something is not the thing it's shining on. It's transcendent to that. It's a light, and the light is shining on an object. But if the light shines only on that object and nothing else, and if it's the light of consciousness, the beam of consciousness, awareness, it thinks it's what it's looking at. How would it not? It's the only thing it's ever seen. So basically that's what's happening inside the fishbowl, is your consciousness, which is something very, very great. What do you mean? Take the light off what it was shining on. Is it still the same light? Can it shine on much broader things? Can it shine into infinite space? But it wasn't. It was just focused on this tiny object. That is what's going on inside your head. Your consciousness, which is infinite, has no limitations. They can focus on whatever is out there. But no, it's only focusing on what it's trapped into, which is to focus on your thoughts and your emotions. That's what's inside your fishbowl. Your thoughts and your emotions. Your thoughts and your emotions. And you really care about those things, don't you? And you think you're supposed to. You think that therapists and preachers and rabbis and everybody should be concerned about your thoughts and your emotions. You like to talk about them, don't you? Boy, did he hurt me. I've never been hurt so bad before. I can't believe I let somebody do that to me. Those are thoughts. Those are feelings. They're inside the fishbowl, aren't they? And your thoughts and your feelings are much more important to you, no matter what you say, because you don't tell her that, than her thoughts and her emotions. You care about her thoughts and her emotions, because if her thoughts and her emotions feel good, she'll be nice to you, and your thoughts and emotions will be nice. It's called a relationship. And if indeed whatever's going on inside his or her, thoughts and emotions, because somebody died, somebody left them, something happened at work, they got fired, they got sick, something happened. So inside this other person's thoughts and emotions, the fish are swimming around changed. You're in trouble, aren't you? Then you know what your thoughts or emotions sound like? Should I stay? Why am I staying here? This is not doing anything for me. Or, I want to be committed. I want to be fair. I said for better or for worse, for life. All of them are thoughts. I know you like one more than the other. You definitely want that second set of thoughts going on inside the other person's fishbowl, don't you? I want you to see how trapped we are. We're limited to inside that fishbowl. And then what ends up happening, like I said, people teach us spirituality is being nice or doing this or wearing certain clothes or eating certain food or not doing this or doing that. No, it's taking off the fishbowl. Let's take the 10 Commandments. They're pretty weird commandments. Thou shalt not kill. Whoa. I kind of look at the 10 Commandments and think, God doesn't think very much of us. God doesn't come down and tell us what we're supposed to be doing. Stop killing each other. Stop bearing false witness. That is a low bar, isn't it? You know what the commandment should be? Thou shalt take off the fishbowl. Let's look at it. Why would you kill? Why would you kill? Let's talk about human killing right now. Why would you kill? Because the fishies told you to. My favorite one is Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton. Thou hast said something that upset my fish. I challenge you to stand back to back, take 10 steps, turn around and shoot each other in the face. Now, why would you do such a thing? because your fish told you to. You insulted my honor. I cannot live with that. So you just see that the reason you need those commandments is because you're stuck inside the fishbowl. Otherwise, you don't need the commandments. There are no commandments. There's just experience of reality, of God, of the whole universe. It's big. How much bigger is it than your fishbowl? Ha, ha, ha. But you do see you're caught in the fishbowl. And so what people do with their lives, I feel compassionate, sorry, is to sit there and say, okay, I don't know I'm inside of a fishbowl. I'm inside of reality. This is what's going on inside my head is what is. I wasn't born yesterday. I've had experiences. You think you've had experiences. You've been around the block, haven't you? Give me a break. Any moment you're having an experience, how many other things are going on that you're not experiencing? Is there a number big enough? 700 billion, zillion, quillion on Earth. Not to count the rest of the place. Okay? So you don't know anything. Do you? I mean, if you know 0.0000001 at any given moment, that's what you're experiencing. And the next moment, exactly the same. Next moment, exactly the same. We call it statistically insignificant. That's the right word for it. Now, you hear me. I know you're listening. But did you really hear me? What's going on inside your fishbowl is meaningless. In fact, really, where'd your fish come from? What does psychology say? It says the fish inside your fishbowl are based on the experiences you've had. It doesn't say it like that. It says man is the sum of his learned experiences. Guess what? Your consciousness is not, but what's inside your fishbowl is the sum of your learned experiences. There ain't nothing else in there. How could there be? You had an experience. You met this person. She was really, really nice. That's not swimming around. No, I'll meet her again. She was really, really mean. I don't have nothing to do with this lady ever again. You met 1 second of somebody's life. And you did that, didn't you? Oh, no, I already met him. No, I'm not interested. Well, his mother just died when you met him, and he had a stomach ache. There's not a single experience you had that has any meaning at all. Why? Because you missed everything else. Here, who's going to win the election next year? I know who. I asked her. I studied statistics. That doesn't count. You understand that? I had this experience. What was the superset of possible experiences? Everything. Anywhere. Every other experience that was actually going on. I don't make it up. There's things going on everywhere. Did you experience those? No. Therefore, you don't know anything. I hope it hurts. People tell me, why would you say that to me? It made me feel so small. Hooray! Because your fishbowl is tiny. So let's build a fishbowl. You have experiences. It's so easy. So you're in there. You're kind of dazed. What's going on? And an experience happens. Somebody says something nice. Somebody says something mean. It's raining. You're scared. Whatever it is. Every single experience you had left a fish in there, didn't it? And some bigger than others. What does a traumatic experience look like? A great white shark flying by once in a while, right? Or a rattlesnake. Anytime that one shows up, you go bananas. Right or wrong? I'm not belittling it. I'm telling you the truth. That's what it is. But the truth of the matter is that experience you had lasted a very short period of time in relationship to your life. Oh no, my parents got divorced and I didn't like my stepfather at all and he was really mean and they were fighting all the time. Okay, how old are you now? 65? When's the last time you saw any of that stuff going on? 60 years ago. So why is it still inside of you? I'm asking you, why is it still inside of you? Why is that fish swimming around ruining your life? And it is ruining your life, isn't it? It's bad enough that you're caught inside the fishbowl, but you stored the bad stuff. You stored every single scary thing that ever happened to you. Does anybody have stuff in there from the past that is over, except not over inside of you? And it keeps coming back up, and things remind you of it. You dream about it, and this about it, and you don't want to have anything to do with it. Seems kind of silly, because there's a whole universe out there. And that was just one moment that you experienced. And you missed all the other moments. What if I had looked to the left during that moment And I missed the car accident that I saw when I was 3 years old that caused a traumatic experience to me. And I just happened to be looking out the other window. Your whole life is different. One random moment that you happen to be looking in a certain direction has determined your entire life. There's something wrong with that, isn't there? So you start looking at stuff, really what's really going on is you stored these fish in there, and you know you did, and most of them are scary as hell. You didn't store all the white lions in there. You drove by them. You didn't store every tree you ever saw. You kind of said, oh, there's trees. Oh, there's other cars. You got a nice broad subject that doesn't distract you. It doesn't anything like that. How often do you all of a sudden see a white line and get neurotic? These are experiences that happen in life. They are not the only experiences that are happening in life. They're so minuscule, it's ridiculous. They just happen to be the experience that was going on at that point in space and time where you were. And they ain't the only experiences, are they? There's billions and trillions of them. But you don't care. You only care what happened to you. And that's what you store inside the fishbowl. That's called ego. Don't think of ego as egotistical. Ego means what matters is me. Anybody not feel that way? Thank you. Let's be honest. Is it true that what matters is you in the universe? Aside from the fact that there's 8 billion people, whatever it is, on the planet Earth at the same time, why do they matter less than you? And aside from the fact that there's all these other experiences that are going on every single moment everywhere, the only ones you care about is the ones that happen in front of you. And you built your entire self-concept and your whole thoughts about what's right and wrong and good and bad. Every single thing is made out of those minuscule, meaningless moments that you happen to experience that are not representative of anything. Why would they be representative? There's a moment going on right next to it, a moment going on, a moment above it, a moment below it, moments all over the earth and all over the universe. Are there moments going on Mars? Are there moments going on in Jupiter? Are there moments going on in a galaxy far, far away? They're all the same. They're all the same. They're the moments that are happening at that moment in time and space. The one in front of you is not any different than every other one. I'm going to say it, and I know you don't like it. Why would it be different? They're all going on exactly at the same time. And they all have history. Every moment that's unfolding, every moment has a reason that is the moment that's unfolding in that place at that time. There are events that happen, cause and effect, that are flowing through time and space. And every moment is the result of all of that. That's why we have science. That's why we study things, try to find out why things are the way they are. You don't need to be a scientist. It's very easy to understand all of science. Things are the way they are because they're that way. But I don't like it. That's the problem, isn't it? Okay? And so you wake up and you realize, I'm in this fishbowl. And I only care about me. And I think that the experiences I had are way more important than any experience that anybody else had. And I think the experiences that I didn't have are meaningless. Are we talking honestly? Don't you think the experiences you didn't have are meaningless? Why would you bother with those? I didn't have them. Because they're the same as the ones you had. They're just a moment in time and space that all of history unfolded in such a way that that's what was going on at that moment. And you happen to be standing there. Well, why did you happen to be standing there? Because all the forces in your life ended up putting you there at that spot. If your coffee maker took 10 seconds longer to make the coffee, you wouldn't have been there. If somebody upset you and so you cried a little bit, you wouldn't have been there. Every single thing had to be perfect for the moment that's there to be there and for your consciousness to be there at the moment that moment's there. Is that a true statement? If anything had changed, if the person who put your brakes on of your car had a fight with his wife the night before and didn't pay enough attention and didn't put the proper torque exactly right on that pad, and 6 years later the brake didn't work right, see the history? Who's willing to look at truth? Who's willing to look at truth? No one. They're only willing to look at their fishbowl. That's my life. That's what life is, my fishbowl. That's all there is. the experiences that I had. So now, these experiences come in. Yes, you had those experiences. Why do you store some and not others? Because you have these things called emotions. And they tell you what to store, don't they? I don't like this. I didn't like that. How much didn't you like it? The degree to which you didn't like it will determine how much you stored of it. So, for example, you ate some food. To the degree that it made you sick, you'll eat more. What? That didn't sound very smart. Well, then why, to the degree you didn't like something and it's over, did you decide, I will make it the focal point of my life? I'm going to store every single thing that ever bothered me inside of me. Did you or did you not do that? And now it's neat. We don't have to say inside of me, inside the fishbowl. I will store it as a fish, a big one. And there's other fish in there. What about to the degree that you really, really, really liked it? To that degree, you will store it inside. Now you have little fish swimming in there that say, God, I wish that would happen again. In other words, I don't like what's happening now. I'm not going to be here now. There's that little fish. Oh, I remember. Oh, I was so happy then. Why can't I be happy now? Why did he leave me? Oh, now I'm depressed. These things are a problem. They're not a solution. And so what happens is we're not that wise. We don't understand what's happening. We're lost. We're lost in the fishbowl. And so what happens is if something swims by in the fishbowl that's not comfortable, you change your life to avoid it. You move, you leave people, you do this, you decide where you want to work, every single thing. If you go to a job and it feels good, a nice fish shows up, all right? Oh, I love this job. Until somebody says something that reminds you of something that somebody said 5 years ago, and all of a sudden, I don't like my job anymore. I don't want to work here anymore. I don't like it. I don't know why, I just don't like it. It doesn't feel right. Do you see now why? Because you stored all this stuff in there. How complicated is it there? I make it sound simple, a couple of fish. There are a couple of fish swimming on in there. There's a lot of stuff going on in there, and they bump into each other. In other words, you literally can be perfectly happy driving down the street, and nothing happens. Nothing changes, and you're depressed. Why? A little fishy swam by. Yes or no? Okay. I hate to talk to you this way, but somebody has to be willing to. Now let's talk about what are you doing about that. Because even whether you know you got a fishbowl over your head or not, you do. So what do? You try to manipulate the moments in front of you so that when they come in, passing your fishbowl, they're nice, they feel good, they're comfortable. And you try to manipulate the moments in front of you so they never, ever hit that stuff in there that you stored that's yicky as could be. Does anybody not do that? Your whole life, that's what you're going to do. It's all determined by what you stored in there and what it feels like, and then you go out there and try to manipulate the outside world so that when it comes in, it feels more comfortable inside your fishbowl. That's why I said, you can choose to have a nice life. But that's what you mean by a nice life. If I asked you to write the top 10 things that you want to happen, and write the top 10 things you really don't want to happen, you just gave me a little diagram of your fishbowl. And no two of you will ever write the same thing. And guess what? Next year you won't write the same thing. Because you stored different stuff and different stuff came up. Is that the way you want to live your life? Because that is not a spiritual life. Well, but no buts. If you're storing that stuff in there, and it's determining how you act, and that's why the Ten Commandments are the way they are, right? Why would you kill somebody? Well, because he did this and that thing, and I can't bear to win on my girlfriend. I can't tolerate that. Oh my God, my fish are going crazy in there, right? And fine. Why would you steal? Why would you this? Why would you lie? Always because of what is going on inside your fishbowl. So when God comes down and says, he'll give us some commandments, that's sad. Okay? And it's really funny that Christ really didn't say that. He said, I didn't come to change a single letter of the law, but he had kind of a couple of weird commandments. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Thou shalt love thy enemy. You who is without sin, throw the first stone. That doesn't sound like those commandments. Because Christ was spiritual. It came from a total spirit, and Buddha taught the same thing. and so Muhammad and Krishna. From the deep spiritual state, it's about transcending to your fishbowl. Christ said you must die to be reborn. He didn't really say. He said you must take off your fishbowl to see God. Well, that's what it means, isn't it? Well, so you have a choice in your life. If you're here, you're listening, all right, do you see that is what's determining your life? That you got this stuff in there, both in your heart and in your mind. As long as you are using that to run your life, you're either going to be depressed because it's stored a lot of bad stuff in there. I asked you once, if you store every single thing that ever disturbed you inside of you, what's it going to be like inside? How about disturbed? Isn't it? Now you must struggle to have it not be disturbed. No, it's not supposed to be disturbed in there. It's supposed to be beautiful in there. It can be absolutely beautiful. Take off the fishbowl. There's just, wow! There's flowers and butterflies and rattlesnakes too. There's everything. And that's just on Earth. And then there's all these galaxies. And I told you, they found a quasar last year, a couple of years ago, that was so bright. They considered it as the brightest object they ever found in the universe. Ready? 500 trillion times brighter than the sun. If you look up in the sky, it might be one little faint star you see out there. That's how big this place is. That's how amazing this place is. But not for you. In fact, what if your mind said, so what? What's that got to do with me? You got that fishbowl problem, don't you? All right, guess what's got to do with you? It's called reality. And what's going on inside of you is not reality. It's meaningless junk that you collected and made a mess of yourself. So what are you going to do with your life? I'm going to struggle. That's what I said, fall from the garden. When you fall from the garden, now you must work by the sweat of your brow to be okay. Well, that's implying that before you fell from the garden, you didn't have to do that. Things were fine. It was beautiful because you didn't have the fishbowl on. So basically, now what do? Now you figure out some way to be okay inside the fishbowl. No, I will not do it. I refuse. I will not make a life for myself inside that fishbowl and let all the garbage that I stored inside myself and all the likes and dislikes and all that kind of garbage that's going on in there determine my entire life. And that is spirituality. Spirituality is take off the fishbowl. Spirituality is not, I'm lost inside this fishbowl, I'm suffering, I need to learn how to attract to myself that which when it comes into my fishbowl I feel good. If you ask me, is there a law of attraction? Yeah, but what are you doing using something like that? You're trying to make it nice inside your fishbowl. No one has ever made it nice inside their fishbowl. No one has ever made it nice inside their fishbowl. For a short period of time you can, can't you? You can get something you think you want, and this match, and it didn't look like that, and et cetera, et cetera. And you get excited. Oh boy, it's going to be nice in here. How long did it last? Shh, don't look at anybody next to you. And so there's only one way that it's really going to go back to the garden. Take off the fishbowl. And that is the only spirituality. Yes, in between you're taking steps. I would tell you, it's not a leap to heaven, it's a stairway to heaven. So of course, it's not that you're not working in there. You have to work in there. But are you working in there to make it nice in there because you made it not nice in there? Or are you working to get the damn fishbowl off? And that is spirituality. That is yoga. That is the deep teachings, including Christ's teachings. So, how does one do such a thing? They start off by understanding, I have a problem, and the problem is me. But he said, no, the problem is me. The problem is me. I have stuff stored in here, and I can't handle things. Even if they're not happening, I worry about them. I don't stand a chance. Why? Because I'm afraid that something might happen. What? The ones that happened before that I stored in there, I don't want them to happen again. Well, then you don't have a life. You're struggling. You're suffering. Maybe I'll find a relationship, a white knight or a princess who can solve all this. Not a single chance in the universe is there such a thing. Is there? You've been around the block. No one's ever had a relationship that it really did good with and then it went away. Right? No one ever, nothing. For whatever reason it went away. They died. They left. You stopped caring about them. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's not okay in there. And you're not going to take something from outside and somehow make it okay in there. It seems like it can work some, because there are things in there that get excited, that are nice, and it can be nice in there. Nobody's saying it can't be. I'm not being negative. It can be very nice in there for a short period of time. It can't stay that way. Why? Because it's not nice in there. Because you stored all this not nice stuff. And you're not going to meet somebody, your soulmate, who exactly offsets exactly all the garbage you stored inside. The sharks are going away, the rattlesnakes are going away, what mommy did is going away, what daddy did is going away, what uncle did is going away, what your first boyfriend is going away. It's going to go away because I met this person who has their own fishbowl over their head. Have you noticed it's not going to go away? Oh my God. No? You think, but I thought love was the greatest thing around. It is, if love helps you take off your fishbowl. But if love tries to neutralize the fish that are in there and have everybody behave in a certain way so they never upset your fish, that's not love, that's need. And it don't work. Okay? Well, okay, so what can I do if this is the reality? You can work on taking off the fishbowl. How does one do that? I don't know how to do that. You start, this is what I teach. You start by saying, how did it get so messy in here? Well, we already talked about it. You stored mess in there. If you don't pick up the pizza in your house and you have crust laying all over the place and roaches all over running around because you didn't clean anything out of it, don't walk in. How did it get so messy in here? Because you stored a mess in there. Well, all this stuff that Freud talked about in psychology, about suppression and repression and denial and all, you store junk in there. And while you have junk stored in there, it is not going to be nice in there. Other than you can work hard to have moments, you can. But no, you look at me. No, I love you. That is not a life, to struggle and work and everything, to have some moments that aren't scary. It's supposed to be nice in there. What does that mean? Beautiful. Always. Filled with love. With no effort. Unconditional love, unconditional well-being, unconditional spirit pouring up inside of you, feeding you all the time. That is your natural state with the fishbowl off. So how does one do that? You take a look and you notice, and do it very simply. The reason it's messy in here is that I stored stuff in here. It's not the stuff. It's that I stored it. It's over. What if you could let go of everything that's actually not happening right now that is negative that you have stored inside of you? What would that be worth? Okay, fine. So you take the following position. Why did I store this garbage? I didn't know any better. Nobody teaches you this. No one dared. I'm surprised you all come back. No one will talk to you this way. That's mean. That's terrible. What's wrong with you? Telling people they don't matter and the stuff inside doesn't matter. And nothing that ever happened in your entire life has any meaning at all compared to reality. And it doesn't, does it? 1 out of 700 billion trillion moments. You missed them all and you're making a big deal out of the one you had. Okay? Well, no one talks to you that way. They say, oh, I can't believe you had to go through that. I'd be messed up too. Great friend. In other words, keep your stuff. Keep your stuff. All right? So you catch on that if you keep your stuff, you kept your stuff. You're not going to be okay. You're not going to feel the love. You're not going to feel all that beautiful joy, right? So then you sit there and say, why did I store it? I didn't know any better. Do you know better now? Yeah. But do you know how not to store it? No. We've talked about it. We talked about, wouldn't it be nice to not have that stuff stored in there? But you don't know how not to store it in there. And your society does not teach you how not to store it in there. It teaches you to store it in there. He said that to you? I can't believe that. I would never accept that. Good. Store more. So you catch on that, okay, maybe I need to learn. That's a beautiful word. I need to learn how to not store stuff inside. Stuff that didn't feel good for us. It's hot out. It gets hot in Florida. It was 90 the other day. We're not even in summer. All right? It's hot. It's hot. Do you like it when it's that hot and you're sweating and it's uncomfortable? No. Do you need to store that in there once you've walked into the air conditioning? Do you want to sit there and say, oh my God, it was so hot out there. I can't even breathe. But you're in the air conditioning. Yeah, thank God for air conditioning because it's so hot out there. And you tell every single person, oh, you have no idea how hot. I don't want to live in Florida anymore. I'm going to move. Let me see. Where go the web? Where should I go? Where's the nice weather? What are you doing? You had a moment. It was hot. Okay? But you couldn't handle it, could you? That's called not being able to handle a moment in your life. That was just a moment. It was hot. Fair enough? The driver in front of you. I always use these examples. Man, use the same examples, easy examples. That's because you can't even handle those. What am I going to use? A divorce? A death? No. I'm going to talk to you about the fact that you can't even handle that it was hot for a moment. You can't even handle the driver in front of you didn't use his blinker. You're causing trouble for no reason at all. What's the benefit of those things? Zero. All it is negative. Because I'm telling you, 4 days later, someone's going to say, hey, you want to go out to the beach? Nah, it's too hot. Nowadays it's too hot. You say the other day it was so hot. Do you hear me? You're storing stuff that you don't need to store. I don't want to touch the big stuff. Don't worry about the big stuff. For right now, don't worry about the big stuff. Yeah, there's sharks in there. Yeah, there's rattlesnakes. And sometimes they get aggravated and stand up. Okay, fine. Can you at least not store more? Can you at least be in there and be conscious and realizing that storing this stuff is a problem and not storing this stuff is the solution? So why don't we practice with the easy stuff? You don't bother. You don't think it matters. It matters. So when it's hot out and you see her, him in there, oh my God, it's so hot, I can't handle it. You stop for a moment and you say, you know what? That's exactly what you did throughout your life with everything. And you stored all this stuff. Now you can't get into a red car because 15 years ago there was a car accident and the car was red. Hear me? You can't fly in an airplane because you watched a movie. Airplane, probably. You watched a movie and the plane crashed. You never had a plane crash. You never had a plane crash, but you watched a movie. Did it store in it? Can a movie store in there? Wow, we're in trouble, aren't we? So you start by saying, I'm going to learn to not store stuff in here. New stuff. Don't worry about the old stuff right now. You're not ready. And then to me, it's exactly the same as learn to play the piano. Well, you're not going to sit down and play Beethoven, but you can sit down and play the scales. Can you learn to play the piano? So you play the scales. You know the easy part. If you get something wrong, good. Now you'll play better. Then you play Twinkle Twinkle. You learn. That's the word. It's a funny word. You learn sports. You pick up the tennis racket and you either get a ball thrower or a coach and you practice. You practice your wrist. You practice building your muscle. You practice, and you learn. You learn instruments. You learn sports. Why won't you learn the most important thing in your entire life? To stop storing this stuff inside your fishbowl. And stop devoting your life to, I don't want it to be negative. I can't handle it. So now I'm going to go manipulate everything, fight, struggle, judge everything, because I can't handle it. I would like to learn to not store it. That's it. If it's hot out, fine. All right? I told you what I learned to do. Right? Now, not right for all of you, but just because of the way Mickey's mind likes to think. I remember the moment I did it. It was in the 70s. It's never, ever happened again. I'm standing out there, in the middle of the field, it's hot, summer, and he says, oh my God. And I looked at him, and I said, jeez, wow, you got a problem, kid. And I asked him a question. I talked to him. The higher self can talk to the lower self. Why is it so hot? The sun is so hot, all right? And I said, well, Mickey, how far away is the sun? He happens to know that kind of thing. 93 million miles. It's 93 million miles away. How far away is Miami? 360. If all of Miami caught fire, every single building and everything there, you would not feel it up here. Not 1 degree would change. That's 360 miles away. That thing's 93 million. All of a sudden he goes, whoa, that sucker must be hot. That's pretty hot, 93 million miles away, and I'm complaining. And then you sit there and say, well, next question. I said, well, why do you call it a sun? Is it a sun? No, it's a star. Whoa, that was it. It was over. It's a star? That's a star? And you're so close to a star that you feel its heat? Isn't that what's going on? Like those twinkles are so far away. You're so close to one that you feel its heat. And all of a sudden you stop and you say, wow, that is pretty neat. And next time you feel it, you do this. Oh my God, I'm close to a star. Like, watch your language. You do not get sunburn, you get starburn. One sounds negative, the other sounds, wow, I got a starburn. You're welcome to do that to neutralize the way you're used to resisting everything. They call it positive thinking. Good. That's fine. You're still in your fishbowl, but you stored one less fish. And in fact, you stored something positive that could have been negative. So the next time you feel the heat, I tell you, every time I walk outside, he just wants to do this. And the hotter it is, the better. I can feel that sun. And then I remind him what I tell you all the time, and I know your mind says, why do I care? That 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. That's how big the sun is, and how stupid your little piece of dirt that's spinning around. Can you imagine? There's a little tiny little planet that doesn't even show up on a bleep machine, all right? Flying around that sun, and you're making this hell out of your life. And the same thing with the driver in front of you. 15 miles below the speed limit, oh my God, and there's brakes all the time, you're just driving like, oh my God, right? You're anxious, well, go ahead, tailgate, beep, all right? Or sit there and say, that could be my grandmother. In her last years, that her sight is good enough, her health is good enough, that she's able to be independent and drive from place to place. I don't want to tailgate her. I don't want to beep at her. I don't want to yell at her. I want to give her the space that she needs to enjoy that part of her life. You're welcome to do that. You can use your mind to neutralize the garbage that you would have stored in there. And all of a sudden, everything's more pleasant. You don't have problems anymore with that kind of stuff, right? And the next thing you know, it's not just that you're not bothered by the sun or the heat or the rain. Oh my God, it's raining. I have to get out and it's raining. Well, that's why you have food at Publix, because it rains. It's why there's trees. It's why there's foliage. It's why there's absolutely everything. You should be worshiping the rain. You sit there and say, wow, thank you, it's raining. And if he sits there and says, yeah, I don't like to get wet. Did you take a shower this morning? Did you get wet? Work with yourself. That's what this is called. The Gita has a line, since we're talking about spirituality. It says, one should raise the self with self, not trample down the self. For self that can be self's friend can be self's foe. And if it's playing with the word Atman, capital A, lower a. Higher self, lower self. One should raise the lower self, that negative thing in there that has problems with everything, all that fishbowl stuff, right? Your higher self should raise the self with self, not trample it down. Don't get mad at it, don't yell at it. No, help it out. You made that mess in there. You know what you should be doing if something comes up from the past that's painful? I know you won't do it, but you'll learn. If you do these easier things, eventually you'll be in there and something bigger will come up, but you will have learned to play tennis. You would have learned to play the piano. You would have learned to let go. And you'll look at it, and I'm going to cry because I can't talk about it, and you will look at that thing that you used to beat over the head and no, I can't talk about this right now, and push it back down, and you'll look at it and you'll say, I am so sorry. I shoved you down there. You were just a child, and you had this experience. And I wasn't able to help you. I hadn't learned. And so I shoved you down into a closet and locked up the worst experience that you ever had. I took part of my psyche, pushed it into a closet in the dark, and every time it tried to come back up, I pushed it back down. Wow, how's that sound? And instead, you get to the point where you say, well, I handled the sun, I handled the driver in front of me, I handled this and that, I don't want this down there anymore. I'm so sorry. You apologize to it. I'm so sorry that I shoved you down there. If I'd known better, I would never have done that. Give me your hand. All right? And it's going to be ugly. So don't expect that just because you reach your hand down and said something nice, oh, no, thank you. I'm happy to be. No, it's got a problem. Are you willing to help it? This is called working on yourself. That's spirituality. Not working on getting what you think you need so that your stuff's okay. That's not spirituality. Okay? That's placating, compensating for the problem. Spirituality is, I stored this stuff in here, It is what the fish are swimming around in there. And I will never take off the fishbowl while this is in there because I'm scared to death of it. I can't deal with it. So I keep it in there. Little by little, you start working on yourself. You start working on letting go. You start learning how to let go. You start learning the importance. When you let go, there's less stuff in there. When there's less stuff in there, it's nicer in there. And you start catching on that that's what spirituality is about. Cleansing. Cleansing. Now all of a sudden something outside, somebody says something that hits some stuff in there, and you start going, I do it. And then people talk to me like that. The person has no idea that they said something that hit your stuff. You understand that? They probably did it on purpose. They're psychic. They knew just exactly what to say. No, you don't take that attitude. You go in there and you work on yourself. You raise yourself. It's not going to all come up at once. You can't handle it. But there are going to be pieces that chip up. There's going to be situations in life that hit. Have you noticed there are situations in life that hit your stuff? Change your mood. That's what your moods are. There are no moods. You're not a human being. Your consciousness addicted to staring at a human being. May I repeat that? You are not a human being. You are consciousness, pure consciousness, staring at that particular set of thoughts and emotions that make up this thing. That's what Ramakrishna used to call this. That make up this, all right? And you are completely addicted to it, and you can't handle it, and so you manipulate it. You need the 10 Commandments. Okay? If instead you sit there and say, if you hit my stuff, that's not you, that's me. I have this stuff. Somebody else is sitting right next to me when you start talking about mothers, and I got a problem with my mother. Why'd you talk about that? They didn't have a problem. They felt good. No one's going to have the same stuff that you do. And so you own it. But owning it doesn't mean getting into it. You're sitting there saying, I'm a conscious being. I have been lost in my psyche, completely lost in my emotions and everything, and I had to try to make a world be a way that I could tolerate it and live with it and sometimes feel good. No, I need to clean this up. So basically you work on yourself. You just keep working on yourself. And if something happens outside that hits your stuff, your first reaction is, oh boy, I got some work to do. Take a breath, release it, and you're going to find out you can release anything. Not right now. Someday you'll play tennis good enough to play a decent tennis player, but not the first time you hit that racket, and not when you're getting upset because you hit into the net. You understand that? So you just learn. That's all I can tell you. You learn. You can be better. No one's perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's like there should be no guilt, no shame, nothing. If you are working on yourself, I'm going to teach this lately, and it's very important. There's this thing called the best you can do. Those are very holy words. And in fact, again, here's the commandment. Do the best that you can. Just do your best. Do your best. It's not going to be perfect. But you can do your best. And if you do your best, what's going to come back is your teacher. Do you understand that? There's no karma. It's not right or wrong. It's not a punishment. You do your best. Here, I'm in a relationship and I'm having trouble with what you said, but I don't want to dump on you. I know you have your right to your space, and I'm going to do my best. But it slipped out a little bit. It didn't do perfectly, okay? Fine, you do your best. Then what comes back is your teacher. If you try to hit the ball across the net, but your wrist angle was wrong, and it hit the wire, and came back right, well, you'll do better next time. It's not like, oh my God, I can't play tennis. Oh my God, I did something wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. If you do your best, you are never did anything wrong. But nobody's best is the same as somebody else's best. So you have no right to judge. This person grew up and their parents beat them and they had no money. Well, that's a different environment than you had. So they have different fishy going on in there. But they can still be doing their best. And you better honor that. It really is very beautiful, the teaching, aren't they? To me, that's compassion. The fact that you understand that your best has nothing to do with anybody else's best, and that they went through what they went through, and nobody taught them what you've learned, and so now you have compassion for everybody, for everything, right? But you raise yourself. You just raise yourself. You use every single moment of your life to raise yourself, so that every morning when you wake up in the morning, you have a task to do. I'm going to do my best to let go of this stuff, let go of the stuff that comes up, and listen to me. I'm going to wake up in the morning, and I remember the purpose of my life. I'm going to let go of whatever stuff I can as it comes up, and I ain't putting any more in there. That stuff's hard to get out, isn't it? It takes 1 second to put it in and years to get it out. You hear me? I ain't putting no more in there. You do your best all day. At the end of the day, you sit down and say, how'd you do? Not so good. And that's wonderful. That's like I tried to play tennis. I hit the balls and someone went to the net, right? Okay. Did you learn? Did you learn? Did you learn about yourself? Did you learn about how to do better? And no judgment. There's no shame, no blame if you're doing your best. But shouldn't there be guilt and shame if you purposely, willfully, and wantonly go out there and hurt somebody? I want you to feel guilt because you seem to need it. You need some bad feeling going on in there so you don't do that stuff again. But if you're doing your best, it's a holy thing. You just do your best. Best to let go of what comes up and best not put more in. And wait till you see what happens. Every single day you'll be a different person than who got up yesterday morning. And that's all you can do. And eventually what's going to happen, because you're not putting more stuff in there, there'll be less fish. And because you let the big stuff learn to come up and let go, it hurts. The store with pain is coming back with pain. Don't you dare sit there and say spirituality is all about love and flowers and nothing ever goes wrong. What did I do wrong? Why do I feel this way? No, it's about cleansing. So now there's less stuff in there. And the less stuff there is in there, two things happen. There's more natural Shakti. There's more beauty inside. And there's less scary stuff. And because there's less scary stuff, your consciousness naturally becomes witness consciousness. Witness consciousness is something you don't force it to happen. What happens is because you're not getting distracted by the fish, you stay in the seat of consciousness. But those fish used to pull you down, didn't they? Every single thing pulled you into that. As there's less stuff in there, you won't get pulled in naturally. And you'll know exactly what witness consciousness is. I'm in here. Every once in a while there's a fish swimming around in there. But it has nothing to do with me. It's just something I'm noticing. And eventually there'll be less and less fish in there. And eventually you'll realize, who am I? Not what is that or what do I do about it. Who am I that's noticing all this? And now we're talking. When you get to that point, that's who you are, the one who knows that you're in there noticing the fish and noticing the limitations, it will start to awaken inside of you to say, who am I? Where did I come from? What is the source of consciousness? You know you're conscious. Where did consciousness come from? And all of a sudden you start exploring what's behind where you sit instead of what's in front. And you'll know exactly what I mean when you start to get there. It starts pulling you in. But it's scary because you have to die to be reborn. You have to let go of what you've been staring at. But you start to let go. And as you let go, it gets so beautiful. It's called the ascent. You just get filled with Shakti, filled with love all the time. And you decide, do I want to go back down there? Not a chance. I don't want to go back down there. And you keep going up. But you still interact with the world. Why? Because it's there. It's there. But you don't interact it to make you be okay because you're okay. You're a blessing on the earth. You go to work. You have children. You do everything. But not because you needed to. Not because you're trying to use this stuff to compensate your problems. You don't have problems. Well, then why do I go to work? To express the beauty that I feel inside myself. Why does an artist paint? Why does a musician create music? Beethoven couldn't help himself. That's who you are every second of your life. So inspired to express the beauty that's inside of you. Well, you're a blessing on the earth. You're a rare thing. All right, now we understand spirituality. It's not about having a nice life. It's about getting rid of why it's not ecstatic in there. And eventually, the great ones teach us that the fishbowl fades away. It melts away. And all of a sudden, all there is God. That's all you see. That's all there is everywhere. It's the universe. All right, well, thank you for listening. Work on yourself. Jagged.